What is up, everybody? Welcome back. For once, I'm not doing this by myself. We have some participations from the other two members here. Well, at least one of them anyway. I am your host for the day, Captain Boring, as per usual, alongside one of my BFFs forever and college football insider, Roberto Conqueso. How you doing, my dude?
Hey, we are doing better now that we do not have the flu. I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of knocked you down for a few days. That's why you weren't with us for kind of the last episode at least, and then you had some holidays, so you've missed some episodes. Simeon
Yeah.
is off doing that dad thing. He's missing some episodes, and so I've been holding down the fort, but that's all right. That's why we are a team, and we have come together. Much like the Indiana Hoosiers are a team and have come together. You like that transition? Because I do.
That was great. I applaud.
Thank you. So why don't we just go ahead and start there? The Indiana Hoosiers are taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Spoiler alert for anyone involved in the national title game. That is upcoming on Monday, the 19th. Here we are recording the 13th of January at 5:30 p.m. So this shouldn't change, but on the 19th, these teams go at it. So we will start then in the Peach Bowl, and it was a 56-22 beat down Indiana over Oregon. The rematch that I was looking forward to. Robert, you were looking forward to this rematch. It's 3 turnovers early by Oregon, and it was a landslide. It was 35-7 at half. Even without the 3 turnovers, Indiana's winning this game by 2 scores. Have we ever seen anything like this in college football before?
I would say no. I don't think we've seen a team, unless it was like one of the earlier Alabamas, like the Saban era ones, like the older ones, where you had a complete domination offensively and complete domination defensively, not just in one game, but so far throughout the playoffs, very consistently.
If you look at the stats, it's funny. I was thinking about this. The stats from the 2 games should look like they should be flipped. So let me just read the team statistics from both sides, Indiana, Oregon. I don't know if you've seen these. Okay. So total yards, Oregon 378, Indiana 362. Oregon, more passing yards, 285 to 177. Rushing yards does favor Indiana, 185 to 93. Time of possession, just about even, 28 to 31. Oregon had the 3 turnovers. That was the real big that kind of started this snowballing. But everything very close, all lines up. And then if we flip over to Miami Ole Miss, that was 27-31. Miami got that win. It was a Carson Beck with 18 seconds left, kind of ran in the end zone to the game-winning drive. Let me just read you those stats real quick. Total yardage, 459 to 398. Total passing, just about even. Rushing, 191 to 121. Time of possession, Miami, 41 minutes, 22 seconds. Ole Miss, 18 minutes, 38 seconds. If I read that to anyone else, if I just gave you those 2 and then gave you the score and told you to line up the box scores, everyone would take the Miami Ole Miss box score and put it with the Indiana-Oregon game and vice versa.
Right. Yeah.
So, again, games are played on the field, not on paper. But this Indiana team, people have started the comparison to 2019 LSU and the point differential. Indiana's point differential is way higher than LSU's even was, and LSU's was at an all-time high. Indiana's defense is top 5 in the country. LSU's was like top 20 in the country, something like that. But is of all teams, of all programs, in 2025 Indiana Hoosiers, are they the most dominant football team we've ever seen?
As a whole, I would say yes. If you do it individually, then probably that LSU offense is probably better. But the LSU defense wasn't nearly as good as what this Indiana defense is. So as a whole, probably, which is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way because they're going to be like, well, you don't remember the 1955 Northwestern Wildcats. Like there's always going to be somebody who lived in a certain any time period. It's like the Jordan LeBron argument. There's always going to be someone born in a certain era that is going to prefer something that they have experienced over something new. But yeah, I would say probably Indiana. I mean, they've just looked like, when was the last time you saw really any football program go out and it was just from the minute the ball was kicked off the tee, it was over?
Well, besides the national championship in 2022 with Georgia TCU,
right?
One of the Alabama teams. I can't remember, but one of the early Alabama.
It would have to be like somewhere between 2012 and 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that window, there was an Alabama team that was very good as a whole. But again, that's, one uses NIL money, the other one was not using NIL money, so that's times are different there.
I will still put the 2019 LSU offense up against any defense all time, and I think that they win that matchup. You had 3 NFL wide receivers, 2 All-Pro NFL wide receivers, and then Terrence Marshall. I mean, he got some reps in the NFL. He didn't splash or anything. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he made 1 Pro Bowl with the Chiefs, and then Joe Burrow, who has made a couple All-Pro. So I will put that LSU offense up against even the 2001 Miami defense, and I think that they're dropping 35 plus. I just think that that's how that goes. As you said, in terms of overall team structure and playing together, the togetherness, Indiana by far has cornered the market on that.
Yeah.
And when Michigan won their national championship in 2023, everyone said, well, that is the last true college football team. And I think it was because people meant they did it with little NIL, there wasn't revenue sharing.
Yeah, it wasn't as big of a focus on.
Right, it wasn't a big of a focus. I would say that Indiana, this is about as close as we are going to get to that, because there are no 5 stars on this Indiana team. There are very even few 4 stars, I believe. A lot of them were James Madison guys that came up. I'm sure that there is NIL flowing in this Indiana team, but what you hear from Signetti and all of the players and Mendoza every time they open their mouth is just how close they are, just how tight-knit they are. And you don't really get. Ole Miss was another one like that until they were eliminated, but I think that they were like that because of Lane Kiffin, right? It didn't start at that, but that's what it became. So I know that all of these other college football programs are taking notes and trying to get this togetherness. And you can't buy togetherness. You have to culture it and sow it and prepare it to become this way. And that's harder said than done.
Yeah, I think the era of brotherhood, I would say, I think kind of is over, where you're lining up on that field with your brother, and you would essentially die on that field for the person next to you. And I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore, because you got guys who are, Justice Haynes came to Michigan for a year, now he's leaving. You get just players who are going one and done at colleges and then just going to the next one. And you can't blame them, because they're going to get money no matter where they go, which I thought we were still under the impression that if you leave, it has to be because of a coaching change. but there seems like a hell of a lot of players are leaving that don't have coaches changes that are just bouncing around.
I think I don't think I know that's not the case. Like I that was a rule implemented at one point, but one of these injunctions just kind of left
Yeah.
it open, right?
To me,
And
Michigan's makes sense. New coach,
sure,
yep,
right,
players, which everyone anticipated.
right.
So when everyone's like, "Oh my God, this player left," it's like, "Well, yeah, that's they
Speaking
don't want to play for."
speaking of which, did you see Eda's coming back? Just the side
Oh, is
note,
he?
he's coming
You
back.
know, it also seems like this year there's a lot of players going into the portal that are within a week coming back to their original colleges, and I wonder if that's the new bargaining where it's I'm going to go in, I'm going to feel out these other colleges. They're going to say, "Oh, we'll give you X, Y, and Z," and then I'm going to go back to Michigan and say, "Hey, this is what they're offering me. What can you do?" Like that offensive tackle from Colorado who says he's worth $2.3 million. Beat it, dog.
I will counter that. I do think that is some of it, but I do think a majority of it in this case, well, I don't know in this case, in some cases, are also these players saying, well, everything's year to year anyway. I have an agent now. Why don't I enter the transfer portal, see what my market is? And then when the market comes back and it's just like, well, that's no better than my situation now, and I like my situation now, I'm just going to go back to school, right? So it's probably I don't know what percentage. It's probably 6-7. I'm kidding. I don't know what that percentage is. I would say a larger percent of that is your situation, Bob, which is the example you gave, which is, hey, leverage. Ohio State's going to give me $2.2 million. Michigan, what are you going to give me? And Michigan goes, I'm not giving you I'm not giving a second to third string defensive tackle $2.2 million. Go ahead and go get your bag, sort of deal. I do wonder, because everything seems to be, almost every single player seems to be on a year-to-year deal, and it's kind of annoying. It really is, because you got guys like, okay, for example, Dylan Raiola, been there for 2 years, flipped from Georgia to Nebraska, been there. Made improvement. Nope, transfer portal because you got rid of his uncle, who was the offensive line coach. Well, now he's going to Oregon to potentially back up Dante Moore, who has to make an NFL decision. But if Dante Moore comes, the Ducks made it very clear, listen, if he comes back, he's our starter. Raiola, you're sitting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for Raiola. Even Tom Brady would tell you, it's okay to sit and learn. But also, there's experience in starting, and so why don't you want to try to see the journey through at Nebraska if you're Raiola?
Yeah, I get why you would want to go to Oregon. All the uniforms, they're a rising team. They're all over the place. But like, I don't know if you're starting at a place, unless you would be leaving. Like, he's from Georgia. Well, no, he's originally from, I think, West Coast, isn't he? And then I think he moved to Georgia. But like, unless you're moving closer to home, why would you leave a big program?
Texas, it says.
Oh, Texas. Okay. So even better. You go from Nebraska, which is pretty close to Texas, and then you're like, you know what? I want to maybe start at another school, and just I don't think Oregon is a good fit for him, because the offensive scheme for Oregon is very fast paced and moving, and Raiola is not a mobile quarterback. He's less mobile than what Mahomes is.
What was he, an ACL injury? Or
I think so, yeah.
Or a broken leg?
I want to say maybe he did break his leg.
He broke his leg. Okay, because I was questioning. I was like, well, yeah, obviously, even so, my first reaction was, okay, so he goes and Dante Moore leaves for the NFL. Well, he's still not going to be able to play because he broke his leg at like the end of the season or middle way
Yeah.
through. But he tore his ACL. But no, he broke his leg, so he should be good to go. Hopefully by the beginning of the season. Yeah. Again, if you're going to go and sit and learn, I have no qualms about that. It's just a little puzzling to me why you would leave a place where every kind of year you've started at a place with a good coach and a good staff and a good program and a good school overall, why you would then go and sit, right? You had a good thing going, but again, college football is just a year to year at this point. Let's go ahead and, if my sound bite will play, let's go ahead and talk about and flip over and talk about Miami Ole Miss. So Ole Miss' season finally comes to an end. LSU can stop paying Lane Kiffin his playoff winning bonuses. So good news for LSU administration and boosters there. Mario Cristobal clearly has built Miami offensive line and defensive line. It is clear with those two pass rushers and then all five starting offensive linemen and then Mark Fletcher, who is that big bell cow of a back that they have, that they are a ground and pound defense and then don't turn the ball over on offense and make some explosive plays, and that's what Carson Beck has provided them. Carson Beck, he's on his what feels like 6th year of college football. It's probably pretty close to there, actually. Entering his last game, but he was brought in to Miami to do exactly this. Win these big games in the biggest of moments, and that's what they did. A time of possession difference of over 20 minutes. The Ole Miss defensive line was tired at the end of the game. Carson Beck broke him down, ran it in with 18 seconds left. What can you say about Miami? What can you say about Ole Miss?
Well, I remember at the beginning of this game, I texted you and I texted Simeon and I said, Ole Miss looks like they don't want to be there. Like there was no energy. There was no, this is when they were on defense. Like, you know, they would make a play and like just normally people are jumping around, going crazy. And like, they just didn't seem, I don't know if they were just standing on that business as usual kind of like mentality, but the game being as close as what it was, I think is what is the more surprising thing, because Miami was just beating them down they were more physical by every stretch of the imagination. Miami's defense, I thought, played very well. Ole Miss's defense, I think they just kind of hung around long enough. They were on the field a lot, which usually doesn't bode well for if you're on the field a lot and your offense is just kind of sputtering. But either one of these teams I would have been okay winning. It was one of those scenarios where I wanted Miami to win because it's been forever since Miami has been good. And Ole Miss would have been fun because, you just want them to stick it to Lane. You want them to be petty. You want them to win and then, beat Indiana and then be like, oh, sorry, Lane, we ran out of championship rings and championship trophies. Sorry, buddy. But it was a good game. Came down to the final, like who had the ball last kind of deal. And, there wasn't much. Miami kind of did what they wanted to do. They controlled it.
They had 3 drives of 13 plays or longer in the game. So they moved the ball kind of how they wanted to. The real thing that kept Ole Miss in this game in the first half was penalty yardage. Miami finished with 10 penalties for 74 yards, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Miami would make a great play on defense, but have a holding call, which would give Ole Miss the automatic first down. They would have a big run on offense with 3rd down conversion, and it would get called back because of a penalty. So the one real thing that kept Ole Miss in this game, besides themselves in every action, and they took advantage of every single penalty Miami threw at them and every single second life that they gave them, and they took a lead late in this game, and Miami had to win it, Not saying Ole Miss didn't deserve it, but Miami kind of messed around. They kept shooting themselves in the foot, taking one step back, and eventually it was a 2-step forward, 1 step back. Well, eventually in that scenario, you still end up further than where you started, but it took a lot longer than what it should have. So congrats to Miami. Congrats even to Ole Miss. I expected them to win the first round game. I did not expect them to blow out Tulane. They did that. I did not expect them to handle Georgia and Kirby Smart's defensive choke job yet again in a big game. And they did that. And then I expected Miami to kind of dominate this game, and that did not happen. So congrats to Miami. Way to be attaboy, Ole Miss. I'm really interested to see what happens with LSU moving forward and hiring Pete Golding, but Pete Golding wants to be there, and I think that's what they were looking for as a coach. So that starts now. Funny, Robert, I don't know if you saw, the new offensive coordinator that's coming in was hired from East Carolina. But because before this game, almost all of the offensive assistants that are going to LSU got recalled except for Charlie West Jr. The new offensive coordinator came in. Charlie West Jr. was still calling plays, but the new offensive coordinator was still helping out. So a guy in a calendar year was coaching on 2 teams. One, I don't even think they made a bowl game, East Carolina. I could be wrong. Don't hate me, Pirates fans. And then he was coaching in a semifinal game. So that is college football in 2025, which is a wild, wild thing to say. All right, let's go ahead and flip the page forward to Miami and Indiana and look ahead at the national championship game that is coming up, and that is January 19th, ESPN 7:30. The number 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers taking on the number 10 seed Miami in a home game for Miami. National championship sites are predetermined. Miami, this has nothing to do with them being in it. It just so happened to be this way. So this national championship game, FPI gives Indiana 70% chance to win, or just about. Do you also see that? They are 8.5-point favorites. They opened at 7.5. That number is now 8.5. How do you see it?
I mean, on the paper, that is what it says. Do I think Indiana wins by 8.5? I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I want to say Indiana probably just puts belt to ass to them.
BTA.
I think Miami's going to be able to hold, like their defense is going to be able to keep them in this, but Miami's going to have to do what they did against Ole Miss, and that is just sustain these monster drives. The 12, 13, 14, 15 plays, minutes on minutes. Win the game of possession, and don't turn the ball over. Don't. Miami almost has to play a perfect game, I think, in order to win this game. Preferably not throw a pick 6 on your first throw.
On your very first throw. Of all the teams Indiana has played in this playoff, Miami is the first team constructed in a way to beat them. Because, most importantly, and people are tired of me saying this, and anyone listening to this podcast driving to work or in their headphones know what I'm about to say about Miami's defense. The 2 edge rushers. Now, the highlight of Indiana's offense is the quick RPO throw and the quick throw game, and Mendoza is very good at that, and he's going to get drafted number 1 overall because of this quick game. So can Miami's secondary make Mendoza's second guess? Because if you're Fernando Mendoza and you second guess, Hakeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain are going to be in your backfield and in your back pocket, and then you're going to be on the turf. So they are constructed in such a way to be able defensively to hold up against Indiana, and I do think they do hold up for a while. The problem is Indiana's defense is so stout and so sound and so together as a team that I think they shut down Malachi Toney, and then Miami really becomes one-dimensional, and their running defense and their run defense, Indiana's run defense, is just stellar. And it all relies on Carson Beck, and that's not where I want to live if I'm Shannon Dawson, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I really don't want to trust Carson Beck to put the game on his shoulders and win the game. I need a complement of people around him. Malachi Toney's excellent, and I think he will get some stats, but it's not as bad as the Alabama being one-dimensional. But if I'm Indiana, I'm saying I'm going to stop the run, and I'm going to trust Carson Beck to beat me, and I don't think Carson Beck beats me. I do think yeah, go ahead.
I think is it Miami? Miami's 2 losses. I think they kind of, I think against Louisville, they kind of were bottled down. Yeah, Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions against Louisville. Yeah, if they don't play that perfect game,
2 against SMU.
Yeah, that's what if they don't play a perfect game, and if it relies on Carson Beck, then it's going to be an Indiana, Oregon kind of look.
So against SMU, they had 159 yards rushing, which they kind of had that game won until Carson Beck threw an interception. But against Louisville, Miami had 63 yards rushing. So again, the math, the blueprint to beat Miami is to shut down their running game.
Yeah.
Which Indiana's defense has done. Again, Alabama. Bob, you could shut down Alabama's rushing offense.
Yeah, that is one position. That is one thing I'm surprised the portal has not been hit hard on for Alabama.
Defensive tackles.
No, running backs.
Yeah, they did get Ty Hayward, but I don't think
that wasn't their issue though.
I don't. Okay,
not so much. Not their tackle. They couldn't run the ball up the middle. Their guard and center spent more time in their backfield than their running backs.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. I'll say it's a 70-30 offensive line to running back problem there in Alabama in what happened in the running game.
I mean, I'd go 60-40 because their running backs just weren't good.
All right, I'll meet you in the middle.
Thank you.
I'll meet you in the middle with that. That's fine. I will concede their running backs weren't great, but that offensive line, for whatever reason, could not run the football and could not get off blocks and push people around. Anyway, I digress. 8.5 is too rich for my blood. I will take Indiana I will take Miami plus the 8.5, but I'm not betting against Kirk Sinetti. I'm picking Indiana to win, Miami to cover the 8.5. And 2 years ago, you would have said that I am high on meth if I would have told you Indiana is not only going to win the national championship, but Indiana, the second losingest program of all time, is going to go 16-0 and win the college football playoff.
Yeah, I would say so. If there was anyone that had Indiana not only making the playoff, but also going undefeated and winning the Big Ten, and then winning the national championship on their bingo card, you might want to go play the lottery, my friend, because that's impressive. Which is why I know absolutely nobody. Maybe Signetti had it on his card, but no one else did.
Well, I was just thinking about it. Has Kirk Sinetti actually ever won a national championship at any of his stops? I want to say
he did it with IUP because IUP was very good for a couple years, and I don't know if that was after him or if that was him.
Okay, so when Signetti, this is his Wikipedia page, he did win a national championship at Bama. Bama fans, don't come after the podcast. When Kirk Sinetti became a head coach at IUP, the program was coming off a 4-10 conference record in the previous 2 seasons. His first season, The team won 6 of its final 7 games by an average margin of 28 points and finished 7-3. The following year, IUP won the PSAC title and advanced to NCAA regionals, ending at 12-2. In 2013, his team was 9-2 and guided IUP to the NCAA playoff appearance in both 15 and 16. In 16, his team finished 10-2. Across 6 seasons, he was 53-17 with 3 playoff appearances and 2 conference championships. At Elon, they made back-to-back playoff appearances for the first time in program history. Oh, championship. He won the PSAC. He won the CAA 3 times between Elon and James Madison. He won the Big Ten. He won the PSAC West Division, the CAA South Division, and 2 Sunbelt East Division titles. So, no, he's never won a national championship, which is shocking to me. So it's not like he was running up D2 natties, right? It's not like he was, what's that? What's that D2 where Trinidad came from?
Ferris
State. It's not like a Ferris State situation where he's just running up natties and then he went to the FCS and he won another natty and then he came and went to James Madison and he brought them to the FBS and he did real well, and Indiana's like, well, yeah, obviously give me that. That's not what's happening here. So everyone who's like, well, how come no one saw this coming? He had success. He won conference championships, but there was no playoff acumen. There was no national championship success to point to. However, it doesn't make his accomplishments any less of what they are, which is, especially at Indiana, which is amazing to me. Now, he has activated the alumni base, and Indiana claims that they have the largest alumni base in the entire country, one being Mark Cuban. So, let me lead you into this question. Win or lose a national title, is Indiana here to stay? When we do preseason podcasts in July, are you picking Indiana to win the Big Ten next year?
No. And the reason I'm going to say no is because I'm not sold on their quarterback next year. I'm not sold on Hoover.
Okay.
So, are they going to be competitive in the Big Ten? Absolutely. Will they make the playoff? What are we expanding to? 75 teams next year?
I think it's probably going to be 16.
Okay.
All reports are pointing
15
to 16
because Notre Dame gets a free ticket
because Notre Dame gets a free. Notre Dame, as long as they finish ahead of last place Purdue, they get a free ride. Yes.
Right. Do they make the playoff? Probably. I feel like by default, we still have to go, yeah, Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten kind of by default, just because we're allowed to be wrong. But
I mean, that's all this podcast is about, bro.
I know.
TikTok
awesome.
lets me know on a daily basis that we are wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick them to win the Big Ten championship. I would pick them to be top 3, top 4. I think the Big Ten's going to be very competitive next year, and I think it's going to be kind of slept on.
So these are their opponents next year in no particular order. Indiana, looking ahead. Okay. Oh, I've fallen down this rabbit hole. We got North Texas, we got the Howard Bison, and then we got the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky. Albeit Bailey Zappi won't be there. Okay. Big Ten opponents are Minnesota, Northwestern, Ohio State, Purdue. Again, in no particular order. These are just how they're listed. USC, Michigan, Nebraska, Rutgers, Washington. The following are road games: Michigan, Nebraska, Rutgers, and Washington.
I could peg them for 3
losses.
3 losses at the max.
Yeah, I could get on board with that.
Which three or less can put you in the Big Ten championship.
Three or less can put you in the Big Ten championship. Three or less can put you in the college football playoff, as we saw. But I am of the mindset until Kirk Sinetti he has entered that Nick Saban aura for me, for you young kids. Until proven otherwise, I am betting on Kirk Sinetti.
He's giving you Nick Saban aura.
Yes.
So does Kirby give you Nick Saban aura?
Nope.
Even though he's won 2 national titles?
Yep.
What about Ryan Day?
Nope.
Really? I mean, okay, Ryan Day. If Signetti wins his national championship, then he's on the same level as Ryan Day. Remember how we were going to do like the tier list of head coaches?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would put them at the same, and then I would put Kirby ahead of both of them just because Kirby has 2 national championships.
Okay. That's fair.
I don't know if I would put him in it, like give him that Saban aura yet. I mean, yeah, he had a good team his first year in Indiana, but then they got their mouth kicked in when they played someone tough. This year they're actually going B to A against everybody except Penn State and Ohio State. But I mean, now the playoff run is very impressive. But we saw this with Ohio State last year too, where the playoff run was very impressive.
No doubt.
I just don't. If he does this next year, and it's copy and paste. I'm sitting here in 2027, January 13th, and I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, all right, we can put him in there. They're 15-0 again, getting ready to go 16-0, and they're getting ready to just beat whoever. Sure. So I think I need a little more. I just need
totally fair.
He's been there for 2 years.
I'm not disagreeing. The reason I'm putting him in this aura is because of where he's at. If he was at Florida doing this, no, I'm not putting him in that. Because Florida's it has to be it's Indiana. Okay. You could not have, if you would have handed me a movie script with this, I would have said, and you said, Micaiah, you're a college football fan. You've been following the sport for 20 years. I need you to make sure that this college football script is semi-believable. I would have looked at it and I said, you need to change the school he's at. Indiana hasn't won jack shite. Right? Indiana, one of the most famous Lee Corso moments in being the head coach of Indiana is because they had a 7-0 lead on Ohio State. Right? Like the number 1 ranked Ohio State team. So it's because of where he's at, for me.
Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and say that all this is rigged. Because what are the chances that Lee Corso retires this year? And now all of a sudden Indiana's in the national championship.
Yeah. No, I mean...
So thank you for flooding the... Now the internet's going to be like, hey, this guy's onto something.
Yeah. To your Kirby Smart point, Kirby was in that until this most recent loss to Ole Miss.
Okay.
Because now it's 2 years in a row. You had a first-round bye. Last year, I understand you lost your quarterback. This year, you had a quarterback. You had a defense that was rising, a stock that was rising, just came off an SEC title game. You beat up on Alabama. Granted, Indiana did the same thing, but you should have been on par. And then Ole Miss walks in without their head coach that you beat already. Offensive staff's doing 2 jobs at once. No one knows who's calling plays. No one knows if they're going to be here, what, yada, 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 quarterback situation, everything, portal, and all that. And you give up 400 yards of offense, right? And you lose the game. So to me, that's why Kirby's no longer in that. Now, because of where he's at, I'm probably still going to pick Georgia and Kirby Smart more often than not. That's just my opinion. Comment down below. Has, for you, Kirk Sinetti entered that aura, or do you need to see more yet, as Robert does? Another year of this yet. Okay. Let's look at some headlines here. You touch on it. Colorado offensive tackle Seaton, he's entering the transfer portal. You saw a report representatives want $2.5 million. Bidding starts at $2.5 million. I guess this opens up the bag and question that I have in general, and I wish someone who was in the business could answer this, but I want your opinion. Do you think that this is that teams are saying we are going to designate either rev share or NIL collective, whatever you want to take it, we're going to designate $5 million to the quarterback, this many, kind of like the NFL does it? Or do you really think, which it looks like on the surface to fans, that it's a free-for-all and every player's different and has a different price tag? Because there's no way this offensive tackle is worth $2.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. So I feel like they're just making that off of the fact that he's big. Because Colorado's offense had, what did I say, 38 sacks they gave up last year for like negative 200 some yards, almost negative 300 yards. Like, I'm sorry, dog. I know those all aren't going to be you, but that's not good. Like, you're not...
38 sacks for negative 297 yards.
Yeah. I would really like it if ESPN would do their job and actually give me the stats of these players. Like, because there's no offensive stats. There's no pancake stats. There's no how many sacks did they give up. Because that's the stuff you need. That's the stuff I want. Because that's how I can better make a judgment other than sitting here saying, listen, this kid probably doesn't deserve that much money. But if you show me that, oh, actually, he didn't give up a single sack and he had stacks upon stacks of pancakes, and it's like, okay, yeah, he deserves something then. Like, maybe not that much money, but I don't know. There's got to be some way to work this where how are you being valued? How are you, like, what is the criteria to be valued for $2 million? Or are we just making it up and saying, this is what I think, and my buddy thinks the same way? Because if he's worth that much, there's players at other programs that are probably worth $7 million. Like Ty Hayward probably would be worth like $6
million. I think that's what kind of college football fans want to know, right? Like Sam Levitt, he's going to get what, $5 or $6 million from LSU. He committed there.
Imagine.
So he's going to go to LSU, and he's probably going to get $5 or $6 million. So then this plays into Kirk Sinetti's philosophy, which is he wants production over potential. So you look at a quarterback like Bryce Underwood, did not develop, but he has all the potential in the world. So how much is Bryce worth if Sam Levitt is $6 million? Right? Again, like, there needs to be some sort of structure for either certain positions or players. I guess I don't know if that needs to be a regulated thing or if that needs to be a team by team thing, because a 1 year quarterback rental like Carson Beck, like last year, it was an eye popping number. He got like what, $2.5-3 million. That's being dwarfed by people who had not even his amount, not even Carson Beck, Georgia amount of success. Like Sam Levitt, okay, he made a playoff game. I guess that's on par, but still, that's not. His talent is not double that of Carson Beck, right?
Right.
I'm not sure that there's any quarterback in college football right now that I would give $6 million to.
Yeah, Levitt is expected to command an NIL deal worth up to $5 million from LSU.
And how much do you think Raiola's getting from Oregon to potentially be a backup? $4 million?
I would hope not. I mean, Raiola he's been consistent. But, like, it's not like he's won really anything yet. And I know I've been big on Raiola, but I think Nebraska's just not a good program, really, at the moment. So.
Devin Dampier is returning to Utah for the 2026 season, which sort of surprises me. But he came from New Mexico originally. An alum gifts the UCLA football team and men's hoop $17.3 million. And this is big for Chesney going to UCLA because why Chip Kelly left, and then one of the reasons why Deshaun Foster wasn't working at UCLA was UCLA's commitment financially to football. And you have to have a commitment financially to football. Indiana had it. That's the one thing Kirk Sinetti did. He got the administration to buy into the financial commitment to football, and now this is where they're at. So everyone is seeing what Indiana is doing, and they're like, well, if we just turn on the cash flow a little bit, you can have it. Now, you do have to have the coach come with you. But there are going to be some sneaky teams every year because of the transfer portal and because of how you turn things over and flip a switch, and you're able to get the roster turned over and people are connected a little bit more, and you get more of that sense of brotherhood, Bob. I don't know if UCLA will do that, but this tells me that UCLA is kind of bought into, hey, let's try to make an actual go of this football thing, and we're going to use an alum money to do it.
Yeah, they're deciding that now's best time of ever to play some football, and let's. You got yourself a coach that is good, but still unproven in the big ranks, I would say. He was good at Holy Cross, good at JMU. Now we'll see how he is on a bigger scale, trying to recruit against a lot better schools and trying to manage a much larger NIL fund now. But, you're putting all these pieces together, and it's time to, pardon the French, but shit or get off the pot. If you want to be better than USC, now's the time to do it. You got the coach, the money, let's rock and roll, get your kids in there, start, Chesney's going to start recruiting like a madman. You're in the Big Ten now. You're not playing Sun Belt teams.
Well, I mean, not in conference anyway.
Yeah.
Cam Coleman, where did he ended up?
He went to Texas.
He went to Texas, and a
true Smooth, the running back from North Carolina State, Smothers.
Yeah.
He originally was going to go, I think, to Bama, but then switched to Texas because Texas was going to offer him more money.
Okay. Where you're going to South Carolina. There was Michigan got a wide receiver, French. It's like a double F at the beginning.
From Texas, yeah.
From Texas. Which kind of surprises me that they're able to get like a high level receiver.
Well, I think a lot of things for Michigan are going to change, obviously, with the coaching changes, and we actually have coaches in there who I think want to throw the ball. They actually got Bryce, a quarterback coach, so I think the offense for Michigan next year is going to be wildly different. But I still think they're going to run the ball. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up kind of looking a little bit more like, obviously BYU and Utah, since we have all their coaches and most of their teams.
Byron Brown, the South Florida, he's following his coach to Auburn.
That's a good pickup for them.
All of Iowa State's team is following their coach to Penn State, so call them the Penn State Cyclones in 2026, and including Rocco Beck. Again, because the transfer portal is good in terms of if you had a lousy year the year before, you are able, if you make the right decisions, to flip your roster and be good the following year. That's what it was intended for. However, it was not intended for this to be an every year thing. Even in the playoffs, every team in the semifinals, Ole Miss, Indiana, Oregon, and Miami, they all had players while playing in the playoff in the transfer portal at the same time. First and foremost, we got to move that. Why the NCAA decided on the winter portal and not the spring portal between the two is beyond me. Take a listen to my last episode as I fixed college football. If people would just listen. And I will say for all you other podcasts out there that this past week have been also fixing college football, I'm pretty offended, and I want some credit for that because our podcast was the first to do it. Don't fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure. So Hollywood Smothers did go from NC State to Texas. Yes.
Yeah.
Hollywood Smothers. What a first name, Hollywood, right there.
Hey, both. Both names, Hollywood and Smothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that. That sounds like a very Texas running back.
I am always of the mindset if you want to go and chase a championship, if you are a high caliber college football player or even a low caliber college football player, go for it, right? If anyone transfers from Michigan to say, Indiana, okay, they're chasing a championship. If you are transferring from a stable environment and going to get more money, I'm going to say, you know what? I didn't want you on the team anyway. And that's just part of me being a fan, but also, if a player leaves Oregon for UCLA because of more money, Oregon's probably better off. I'm just going to, again, everyone is now chasing this brotherhood that Indiana has presented. Ohio State last year, after the loss to Michigan, came together, had a brotherhood. Michigan the year before that with the advanced scouting and all that, brotherhood, right? That is the new recipe for success. I think that's what everyone is chasing. That's what we had going here on today's episode of 4th and 1 Podcast. I want to thank everyone for being here. Remember to wash your hands, you filthy animals. Follow us on Instagram, 4th and 1 Podcast, Facebook, 4th and 1 Podcast, TikTok, 4th and 1 Pod. Like, subscribe, and share with everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.